to a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostina.
You know your last name, Jay?
I was trying to give us a joint name. I said Jacqueline D'Agostina, Amanda Guerra. I was trying to give us one joint name.
You would fail your SATs because of that.
Amanda Guerra, exactly. Sorry, I was trying to give us like a joint name.
We're like
TJ
this.
Douzable and Pete Prisco. Gentlemen, all of that to say is that the NFC South has gotten a little spicy, a little interesting, if you will, and it's a conversation we've been having, almost anticipating, if you will, at the quarterback position because Kirk Cousins, see you later, and hello, Michael Penix.
Are you guys, Pete, you were busy around 10 o'clock last night when the news came down. Are you surprised that it happened now, I should say?
Not really, not after watching Kirk Cousins play and not after watching the way he handled himself after the game. And I said that yesterday. One thing about his interview after the game, he looked like he was lost, like he knew that it was done and he was a shell of himself. He just didn't look like he had any confidence. So from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. He hasn't played well, but more than that, the quarterback, you want him having some confidence in himself, and he seemed to, it's gone. He seemed to lack any of it. So it was the right time.
We'll talk about the implications here in 1 second. Michael Penix Jr. coming on board, but let's take a look at the scene. Let's set it for you really quickly. So the Falcons right now battling it out with the Bucs to see who can take that division. Falcons are just a game back. Keep in mind, they do hold the tiebreaker over the Bucs. Falcons' upcoming schedule. You get the Commanders, the Panthers, and the Giants. The Bucs have the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Saints. Now, when it comes to Michael Penix Jr., the impact, not much. To take the NFC South with Kirk Cousins there, 21.7%. Michael Penix Jr., 23.2% to make the playoffs. Just a slight increase there. Pete, yesterday you talked about how big you are on the Bucs right now. Does this change anything for you in that division?
No, it does not. I think if the Bucs beat the Cowboys, they're going to win the division. It's that simple because the last two home games are against Carolina and the Saints, and those teams have packed it in. They're on their way to destinations of exotic locale and warmth. They're done. So I do think that if the Bucs beat the Cowboys, which they should, then I think that they win the division.
The interesting thing is when you look at the Commander schedule, it's not as easy as people think, and they have the Atlanta Falcons on there. So could there be a backdoor way for the Atlanta Falcons to potentially get in if they were to go ahead and beat the Commanders head-to-head? I'm with Pete. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are winning this division. Right now, they're one of the hottest teams in all the NFL. Liam Cohen has done an amazing job with Baker Mayfield and that cast on the offensive side, especially with all the injuries they've endured. They've been able to run the ball, and that's what people aren't talking about, Pete. The Bucs are synonymous with not running the football. This team runs the ball down your throat, and they're a physical bunch up front. So right now, even though I think Michael Penix will give them a boost on the offensive side, still think the Tampa Bay Bucs win this division.
Let me ask you this really quickly. Not when it comes to the postseason. When it comes to Michael Penix Jr. being put in this position toward the end of the season, you're a rookie. You've barely seen any playing time at all. Is this good for him or bad for him? Or it depends. It's an audition.
Well, Jacqueline will tell you, I said this should have been done 2 weeks ago. You got to think, Michael Penix is not like most rookies, right? He had 6 years of college. He played a lot of college football. And when you look at some of these stats from preseason, he looked the part, right? He didn't look like he was dazed. The moment wasn't too big for him. And you have to think, Raheem Morris knows the temperature of his team. He realized that they're still in the hunt of this thing. And if he continue to put Kirk Cousins out there and they continue to lose, he could potentially lose the locker room. This team has seen Michael Penix throughout preseason, through training camp, in practice. So if people feel like he gives them a best chance, Raheem Morris's hands were tied. He had to do that so he wouldn't lose the locker room. So, again, I think Michael Penix, this is the perfect time for him to start. Thought it should have been last week when they were playing the Raiders. That way he has the Raiders, Giants before going against the Commanders. Didn't mind them not putting him out there against the Minnesota Vikings or the Denver Broncos, but it was time for him to be the starter.
He's my age. He should have no problem with
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, he's been around. He's played a lot of football.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. By the way, you know how I feel about quarterbacks. I like playing them right away. I think they learn more, and everyone who I've ever talked to has told me they learn more playing in one game than they do watching in an entire season. So play them as quickly as you possibly can get to them. And there's a lot of things at play here. You know, people say if he goes in and plays well, it was smart to draft him. They did a great job.
Yeah,
but they also paid Kirk Cousins. You can't have it both ways.
You look bad one way or the other.
It looks bad for them.
Yeah, and just to button this up to your point, Pete, that was a really expensive decision to take Kirk Cousins, and now he's being benched. What does this mean for his future? Still a starter in the NFL? Are we going to see him somewhere else on another team next year? What do you think happens with Kirk?
I don't think he's healthy, and I don't think he's able to use his lower body and drive the football, and the passes are staying in the air a long time. He never had a great arm. His arm was good enough. Now the arm doesn't look like he can drive the football. He has a no-trade clause in his contract. He can hold this organization hostage if he wants to. He can say, look, okay, I'm not being traded. Nope, 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 and then they'll have to cut him, and then they have to accelerate a lot of that money into the contract. So he holds the cards here. He can do a lot of things. They do owe him $10 million more guaranteed money on the first day of the league year next year, so he will probably be released by then. Does he start somewhere else? Hey, you see Jameis Winston, you see all these guys, Joe Flacco, you see guys come around. He'll start somewhere next year.
See what happens in the draft.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because to Pete's point, the no trade clause, this could be like a Derek Carr situation where it's like, no, you either pay me or cut me and let me pick where I want to go on my next destination, or he has to agree and take down that no trade clause to agree to a trade. So like Pete said, it's like you look bad one way or the other if you're the Atlanta Falcons. You took a guy in the top 10 after paying the guy essentially $100 million for 2 years, and now you're in this predicament because he didn't play well.
By the way, one other thing about Kirk Cousins, he's won one playoff game and made, I think, $373 million in his career.
He's a businessman.
You know what he can do? He can put a bunch of those $100 bills in a room and go dive in it. And remember what he did in his NFL career. That's what I would do.
All right, so this division, it's looking like the Bucs division. What was that?
Dive into that money.
I feel like you'd be worried about how dirty the money is, unless it was like newly pressed.
No, I'd be diving in that money.
Okay, all right.
If it's that much money, you don't care.
A little Scrooge McDuck over here.
I'm going all in that money.
Okay, so a division that is up for grabs, the NFC West, and we keep calling it the wild, wild NFC West because it feels like every single week there's a new division leader. Right now, we do have the Rams that are sitting on top. The Seahawks, they're not too far behind, and the Rams do have some pivotal games that are coming up down the stretch here. So let's send it over to our Mackenzie Brooks to lay it out for us and tell us how this thing can shake out, Mackenzie, because it feels like every week we're talking about a new division leader and somebody else that's in the mix.
Right. I mean, if you look at the whole big picture, I mean, first we got our teams that clinched their shout out, the Eagles here in the right stride, Commanders not so much with the right momentum right now. And you guys were talking about the Falcons as well. They do have the head-to-head over Tampa Bay. They're just a few games back, so if they can actually just out-record Tampa Bay, we could be looking at a situation. But you're right, NFC West is certainly where we want to dive into. Now we look at the Rams, we look at the Seahawks. They don't play each other until the end of the year. However, still massive implications when you look at this week, specifically in week 16. Now for the Seahawks here with their game against Minnesota, a conference game, so definitely a lot on the line for them because we could end up in a three-way tie hypothetically right now with Arizona, with the Rams, and with the Seahawks here. The Seahawks are the paper to Arizona's rock, who are the scissors to the Rams. You get the point here with all of that. So having a conference win on top of those teams is certainly impactful, would bring them to a 68% chance to take the division, which in turn makes the Rams a 29% chance to do so, essentially going to the playoffs as well. Same story. Now we go to a Seahawks loss and a Rams win, which is what odds makers are implying and is pretty likely without Geno Smith here, and again playing a red hot Minnesota as well. That's when you see the Rams almost lock it up with a 76% chance to make the playoffs. Seahawks go to that 15, and you see this one being far more impactful because the Rams already have that head-to-head to the Seahawks. So technically the Rams can lose this week because they just need Seattle to also lose them. But in order to stay in the driver's seat, you want to see a Rams win here.
All right, thanks so much, Mackenzie.
By the way, who's going to win Iowa? Does she know? I mean, so it reminds me of like Steve Kornacki doing the border.
Just get the khaki pants.
Politics next.
Oh yeah, and Mackenzie, you kind of have like the khaki pant vibe too, like Steve Kornacki energy. We love it.
Yeah.
And Mackenzie kind of laid out the chaos scenarios there. A Seattle loss, which with Geno being hurt and dealing with that knee injury, more than likely looks like it's trending in that direction. Do you have any faith, Leger, that if it's not Geno Smith,
he did last Sunday?
If it's not Geno, the Seahawks have no chance. You know, we saw what the offense looked like with Sam Howell. It was a shell of what the offense had looked all year long.
Didn't look good with Geno that night either.
I would say this: they really struggled in the first half, and then Geno had a bad turnover in the red zone, which he's done too much this season, right? And we talked about this, Pete. They got punched in the mouth up front on the defensive side of the ball versus the Green Bay Packers offensive line. But if Geno's not in at quarterback, they have no shot at all because Sam Howell looked like a deer in the headlights. He just had no feel for where the ball was supposed to go. Guys were open. He wasn't throwing the ball. And the one thing he will do is hold the ball and take hits. Sam Howell is tough. He'll take some hits. But again, you need to get the ball out of your hands. So if Geno Smith isn't playing, I have no faith in the Seattle Seahawks.
I don't have a lot of faith in the Seahawks right now anyway. I think the schedule's brutal down there. I mean, look, at Chicago doesn't look like a tough game. You're still going to Chicago. It's not a pleasant place to play in mid-December, late December, and then you got the Rams. I think it's going to be a real long shot for them to make the postseason, in large part because their offensive line was terrible the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, they got whipped by the Packers, and they got run on in the run game, too. They were physically mauled by Green Bay on both sides of the ball. That's never a good look as you go down the stretch. I think they're finished.
Any chance the Cardinals play spoiler?
I mean, going back to the schedule, and I know Pete's going to look at me crazy when I say this.
That's what I was looking at. So
look
just
at the Rams
schedule,
going to the
Panthers,
East
Rams,
Coast
and
this week.
I like the Jets this week.
I was going to say, that's a scary game for the Rams this week.
I like
because the offense for the Jets is finally starting to click.
It was
you gotta
Jacksonville. It was Jacksonville, guys.
No, I'm not worried. The defense is not good.
They scored
but
against
the offense,
Miami, too.
I was going to say, the offense the last 2 weeks is looking really good.
Jay is getting hot.
No, I'm just saying, you know how I feel about my Jets.
I like it.
He's not wrong.
But yeah, you're going from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. I just looked at the temperature. It's going to be 26 degrees with 12 mile per hour winds. Could be like 20, 15 degrees real field. So a West Coast team traveling all the way to the East that's used to playing in the dome, that could be a tricky game for the Rams this week.
I'm with you. I think
that could be
that's going to be a tough game to win.
And they still have the Cardinals on the schedule as well.
And then the
Cardinals could sneak in there.
This is the division I'm pulling for chaos. Like everything else is fine. But I always want one division where it's just absolute chaos. Come week 18, this is it. We'll cross our fingers. Guys, hold on. We got more to go through. CBS Sports HQ. I love this promo. Pete, Leger are so dedicated to being here on CBS Sports HQ when it comes to the NFL. They're working Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Is that right, gentlemen?
That's correct.
Okay. I have a Santa suit, Pete, so I'm going to try to lend it to you.
I won't be wearing that.
Man, okay, Grinch. What about the Grinch sweaters like Tom Izzo last night?
I like this sweater.
Yeah, we can make it happen. We can find a Grinch sweater somewhere.
Christmas sweaters on Christmas Day? You doing Christmas ugly sweaters?
No.
Okay. Tune in to see if we can.
Just wear one of your normal sweaters. We'll call it an ugly sweater.
I don't know if we can.
Disrespect. I don't even wear sweaters like that.
Somebody who feels like the Grinch has been attacking them probably over in Whoville. The Lions decimated with injuries. Is it going to spoil their Super Bowl hopes coming up?
And well, everything's good. Life's good, you know. But you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your molded bread, you know. And it was just fine, and it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are. And we'll do that. And so we got a bad taste in our mouth. We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys. And you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys that are about to have an unbelievable opportunity here. And we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go rattle them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose. We're going to play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1, you're going to see smiles on my face. I promise you. All right? If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a smile from my ear to ear. All right? I can promise you. So we're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
We're going to find a way. We're going to get it done. We're going to play the game anyway to win it. Dan Campbell is always good for a decent soundbite. We saw some expletives there that were beeped out. I believe what he's talking about in these road bumps and getting punched in the mouth is that they have, an all-pro team that's on the IR at this point. There were 18 going into the Bills game. More after David Montgomery. That was a huge one. Carlton Davis with a broken jaw. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson. Here we go. All of the notable Lions injuries. Pete, I will start with you. And by the way, Aiden Hutchinson saying he plans to be back by the Super Bowl if they get there.
He'll be at the Super Bowl.
You don't think so? That was my question.
Dang, Pete,
Are they going to even get there with all these injuries?
You lost your best edge rusher, maybe the best edge rusher in the league this year. You lost your interior pressure when you lose Lee McNeil.
Correct.
Anzalone down. You know, Rodriguez, the replacement, down. That's the linebackers at that level. Carlton Davis, their best corner, down 6 weeks. So every level, you've lost key contributors. It's hard to overcome that, and they've also lost depth. Look, I give Dan Campbell all the credit in the world for trying to say what he said there. He's trying to keep his team going forward. And you can walk in that locker room and see guys around not practicing, not playing, out on IR, and you could see where guys would get depressed. Well, he's trying to keep them going forward. Can they score? Absolutely. David Montgomery, and this is no offense to David Montgomery, it's just the position he plays, that's the one that is the least worrying to that team because they're going to put Sione Vaki, a guy I liked, in there. He's a tough physical runner. He can go in there and replace him, plus they have Gibbs. Don't worry about the offense. The offense will be fine. It's the defense. Can you overcome all those losses? I just don't think they can.
I think they got a shot, guys. We had this discussion on, I believe it was Monday, right, Pete? When you look at this Detroit offense, right, 7 games this year, they've scored over 30 points. And when you look at the landscape of the NFC, there's only a few teams that can go toe-to-toe with them. So if they have an opportunity to get the ball last, they have a chance to win the game. And you heard Dan Campbell say, I don't care if we give up 700 yards, which they might actually do because they did that versus the Buffalo Bills because of all the injuries on defense. If they have an opportunity with the game on the line at the end, I trust this offense more than any other offense in the NFC. To your point, David Montgomery is their physical back. But Jahmyr Gibbs has played out of this world this year. You talked about Sione Vaki. He's a guy that played on both sides of the football last year at Utah, and he's looked really good throughout training camp from what I've heard from Detroit, and he's a good special team. And Dan Campbell spoke about that, too. We're going to have to win those special teams, right? They have one of the best kickers in Bates. Now, he had a shaky kick in the game versus the Buffalo Bills, but he has been almost automatic this year. So I trust this offense more than them losing all the players on defense. I think they'll be able to go out there and go blow for blow with people. Now, to your point, it's hard to overcome that, Pete, week in and week out. But Jared Goff proved that he can go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. I mean, 5 passing touchdowns, threw for nearly 500 yards versus Buffalo Bills. So if they have an opportunity with that offense at the end of the game and they're out there on the field, the Detroit Lions will win the game.
Here's where I have a problem with it. And you're right, their offense is great. It's been fantastic. At home, they're really good. But when they travel, if they have to travel, because if they don't win, they could end up being the 5 seed.
Correct.
And they could have to travel.
They have to get the 1 seed.
But when you take the field with the idea that your defense can't stop anybody, then that's even more on the offense to go out there. They have no margin for error. And it got so bad the other day that he tried an onside kick with 12 minutes to go in the game.
Which is crazy.
And so when you start playing that way and start pressing because your defense is that bad, it puts even more on the offense, and I think that's where they're going to have their problem.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if they were to get that first round bye, would that change your mind at all?
Well, they're a different team at home. I don't think there's any question about that. And they're built to play in that place. They're fast, they're athletic, they can score a lot of points.
Correct.
And they don't mind getting in that track meet as they showed against Buffalo. But you talk about scoring 30 points. They scored 40 and still lost the game.
Still lost
and that's a problem.
Again, that's why I said the landscape of the NFC, because that's Josh Allen. He's playing out of this world right now. How many teams right now, maybe the Rams.
The Packers.
But haven't been consistent in putting up points like that.
But they can.
Yeah,
and they haven't played their best football. I think the Packers. I think Baker Mayfield can.
I said that. I said the Bucks.
And the Eagles? I mean.
Yeah, I would say the Eagles are the most complete team. I don't know if their offense can put up 40 every game.
No, but again, you talk about teams that can score.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a quarterback in D.C. who can put up points. But they all can score.
Yeah, but to Amanda's point, if they get the #1 seed, hopefully get Colton Davis back, you get Anzalone back, that will help them go a long way, that extra week of rest.
Yes, the Vikings can score. I mean, everybody can score.
Again, the Vikings, haven't been consistent in doing it.
I just think when you lose that many guys on so many levels, it's tough to overcome that.
Breaking kneecaps. That's what they're going to try to do.
They're going to break some kneecaps of the other guys on the other team to even it out.
Another team dealing with injuries, the Kansas City Chiefs. The good news is, look, we talked about Patrick Mahomes dealing with that mild high ankle sprain. Was a full participant at practice yesterday, as was Hollywood Brown. Marquise Brown, we haven't seen him since, well, he's never worn a Chiefs jersey because he got hurt before the season with a shoulder injury. So this is kind of 2 questions here. Pete, you said you're not worried about the Mahomes injury.
No.
Here's my question about him. Should he play? And then how excited are you for Hollywood Brown to be part of this team?
If he's healthy enough, he should play. If he's cleared and he's healthy and he's
even against the Texans, where you think if they don't have him, they're going to be fine.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you can't just go into any game. You can't go into any game thinking you're going to be fine with your backup quarterback. So if your starting quarterback can play, he's cleared, he's comfortable, he plays. I think it's that simple. And yes, the Texans can get after the quarterback. And yes, the Chiefs have had problems protecting the quarterback. But I do think think you have to play him if he's cleared, and he practiced in full, so it looks like he's going to be a go. And everybody says, and I'm a big believer in this, it's all about the postseason, but if your quarterback and he's the star and he thinks he's healthy enough and the doctors say he's healthy enough, he plays.
Yeah, and this has been what Patrick Mahomes has been through in the past. Let's not forget 2 years ago, he went through the high ankle sprain after getting tackled versus Jacksonville Jaguars and led them to a Super Bowl win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Mahomes has been in this position multiple times where he's told Andy Reid, leave me alone, I'm going in the game, I don't care what you say. This is where the medical staff, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes have to sit down, and if there's no risk of him damaging it more, then of course you go out there and play, because when you look at their schedule, it's not easy, Pete, right? When you talk about playing the Houston Texans, who we talked about can get after the quarterback, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Denver Broncos, and you would think, Pete, they got to win at least 2 of those games or they're not going to get the #1 seed, because right now, Buffalo owns the tiebreaker over them. So if they lose 2 out of the last 3, Buffalo is probably going to get the #1 seed. So Patrick Mahomes is probably looking at this like, I can tough this out. I can get us at least 2 wins. And then maybe week 18, I don't even have to play and I can rest. And then we get an extra bye. That way it heals up my ankle. So Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate competitor. If he's able to go, he will go in this game.
Really quickly, one of you on Hollywood Brown being a part of this offense now?
You know what? He adds another speed dimension, and that's something they need. You know, everybody plays them in a phone booth. Even with Worthy having the speed ability, he's just not there yet as a receiver. Correct. He will get there, but getting Hollywood Brown on the field helps stretch him. And when you stretch him, it opens up the stuff underneath for Hopkins and for Kelsey. I think it's big. My
only concern is with a Hollywood Brown and a Worthy, right? It takes time to develop them reps.
That chemistry.
The routes down the field. Can they hold up in protection? You're not going to be able to get the ball to Hollywood Brown if you can't hold up in protection.
I think putting Tooney at left tackle was a good move for their part. They did a smart thing and moved him outside. He played left tackle.
We're going to learn these next 3 weeks here. They got some tough defensive ends they're going to go against these next 3 weeks.
And Leger, you kind of touched on it here with the Chiefs and that schedule, because they do have a quick turnaround from the Texans to Pittsburgh. So there's not really that, luxury of being able to heal and have those extra days. I know you were saying they had got to win 2 out of the 3 if they want to sit there in that top seed in the AFC. But Pete, where are you at? Is there a chance you have a feeling that maybe the Bills would be able to catch the Chiefs?
Well, the Bills won't lose again. You look at their schedule; they're not going to lose again.
Patriots
and the Jets.
Yeah.
They're not losing again. So all the Chiefs have to do is win 2 of 3, like you said, and they will be the #1 seed. Again, if they're not the #1 seed, I'm going to say this over and over again. If they're not the #1 seed, it doesn't matter. It's all about the playoffs. Yes, you'd like to be at home. They showed last year they could go on the road, even with a team that people questioned last year. They found a way to win it, went to the Super Bowl, won that, and here they are trying to three-peat. So I'm not worried about the Chiefs. Whether they get the 1 seed or not, they will be a threat to go win it all again.
I say from a health standpoint, I think they need the #1 seed just for Patrick Mahomes to heal up. Now, again, he proved 2 years ago on a bum ankle he can go win the Super Bowl no matter what. And I would say this team is not as talented as the team last year or the year before. Now, going into the season, we thought it would be, but we see there's deficiencies once guys got banged up. Like on defense, the defense has been their calling card, but it hasn't been as dominant this year, especially at the corner position. When you lose a guy like Jalen Watson, and then Josh Williams has had to step up, and he hasn't played that well. Trent McDuffie has been an all-pro before, but he's stuck on the outside. He can't go into the slot. So I think they need the #1 seed to make that run for a 3-peat.
But everybody elevates when you've done this before, all those guys that have done it before, they get to the postseason, and all of a sudden they say, hey, here we go again. Chris Jones will become a monster again, and all the guys around them that have been there before will become monsters. They've done it before. They will be fine.
Well, Jacqueline's excited because Taylor Swift can go to all the games.
100%. I want to see my girl.
Isn't her tour's done?
Cheering on her guy.
Am I glad her tour's done?
No, I said, isn't her tour done?
It is. It's officially over. The Eras
she's locked into the playoffs now.
When's the Eras 2 come?
we can only hope in a couple of months, Pete. And this time you can actually go to the concert.
I want to win the lottery again and sell them again.
No, Pete, you're going to go. If you have the chance to see Taylor Swift again, you have to go.
We'll go with you, Pete.
I'm not going to that.
All right, we're going to talk more about the Bills coming up. But in the meantime, NFL and CBS loaded slate for you coming your way on Sunday. Bills in action against the Patriots at 4:25. And that 1 o'clock slate, we have the Browns and the Bengals in the Battle of Ohio, where the Browns are set to start DTR in place of Jameis Winston. And, of course, you can stream all of these matchups on Paramount Plus as well. All right, the Josh Allen conversation in terms of the MVP continues here on HQ. Is he starting to really separate himself in the conversation? Is he a complete lock to win it? We're going to dive in with Pete and Leger coming up on the other side.
Josh Allen came in as the MVP favorite. Did he do enough here, you think, in this arena against this opponent? Had lost only once. He's beaten now the Lions, who had only one loss, and he beat the Chiefs, who had no losses coming in. Did he lock up the MVP today, you think? By the way, Saquon Barkley had 61 yards in the Eagles win with no touchdowns. He's had a phenomenal year.
Extended his lead.
Okay.
That's the right. There's still a few big games left, but I think he's way in front, and he's the reason. 48 points on the road at Detroit. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that certainly was an MVP moment for Josh Allen. Tony Romo seems to think that Josh Allen has locked in the MVP, and Vegas is kind of in agreement there as well. Getting a look at the odds to win the MVP. Josh Allen, after that performance there, leading the Bills to drop 48 points on the road in Detroit. -900 favorite to win the MVP. Lamar Jackson still in the conversation at 650, and then Saquon Barkley at 18-1. The conversation continues with Josh Allen being the MVP with two guys, Leger and Pete, who have been on seemingly opposite sides. If you think that's fair to say when it comes to Josh Allen being the MVP. I know it's been, you know, a little back and forth throughout this season, but gentlemen, is he a lock at this point to win the MVP? And you're going to go over some film from that Lions game as well.
No, he's not a lock.
Okay.
I mean, what if he doesn't play? What if he got, I mean, God forbid if something happened to him and he didn't play and Lamar Jackson went out and won the next 3 games and puts up big numbers. So no, he's not a lock. Is he the leader? If he plays the rest of the season and has numbers like he's been putting up or close to it, yes, he's the favorite and should win the award. If we voted right now, and I am one of the voters, if I had to vote right now, Josh Allen would be the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, we were onto the film right here, P, and he's been, like, utterly ridiculous. I mean, this throw right here, you're going to see the short motion from James Cook, and then look how he just buys time, right? He doesn't like what he sees down the field. He's running 16 miles an hour. He turns his body, Pete, and throws an absolute laser beam to James Cook right here.
And I picked this play out because of that throw. He is an alien is what he is.
He's not human.
There's nobody, there are a few guys in the history of this league, John Elway was one of them, who could make that throw and make that kind of play on the move. I mean, you look at this. He's trying to go there. He gets out. He's got a little internal pressure. Cook actually makes a great play here by getting himself free. Yeah. But most quarterbacks would never even try and throw that. Cook knows that he can throw that, and that's why he made that move.
Yeah, most coaches will say never throw it across your body. That doesn't apply to Josh Allen. This next play, again, just off platform, off script, right there, the defensive end. You can't allow Josh Allen to get outside the pocket. I mean, look where he lets this ball go from for Keon Coleman and the accuracy he puts it on right on his shoulder pad. 55 yards in the air, Pete, over the shoulder.
The best part about that, if we can, he got blasted on that play.
He did get smoked.
Got hit in the face. Actually took a shot right to the face, pointed to the official and said, "Look, he hit me in the helmet."
Right here.
And he still fires that shot. Again, I go back to John Elway. I mean, you guys probably don't remember, but John Elway was unreal throwing those type of balls.
And this is a big down, 3rd and 4. The Lions were starting to get some momentum. This is a corner route and single high safety. He does a nice job looking that safety off just to buy enough time. And then look at the accuracy. Most quarterbacks aren't even attempting this throw right here. And he puts it right on the money for Dalton Kincaid. And they pick up a pivotal first down. But you see the vision. Looking the safety off, dropping a teardrop over Kincaid's shoulder. You see it on you and on you.
This is the growth of Josh Allen. That play right there is the growth of Josh Allen. Being able to look that safety off and come over there. In years past, he wasn't great at that. He's improved immensely. I think Joe Brady's done a fantastic job with him. And if he continues to play the next 3 weeks the way he's been playing, he will be the MVP.
Yes, I crashed your guys' party here, joining y'all at the desk. But just to kind of piggyback off of the Josh Allen conversation, Leger, what do you think this means for Josh Allen and the Bills? Because there were so many doubters and so many haters being like, the window is closed, they can't get over the hump. And now Josh Allen is playing at such a high level. I mean, those people have to be kicking themselves right now.
Well, it's a piece point. They're not over the hump yet.
Not yet.
I mean, the regular season doesn't mean anything for Josh Allen. We knew how great he was throughout the regular season.
MVP
would move.
That's what I was going to say.
For Josh Allen, getting over the hump is beating Patrick Mahomes and getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. That's what the Buffalo Bills have been starving for. They don't have a Super Bowl yet, right? So all the years that Josh Allen had, you know, Stephon Diggs, and they had compliments on the defensive side, they weren't able to get over the hump. This, from a X's and O's and talent perspective, is probably the least talent he's actually had, but he's elevated his team. And you talked about it, Pete. Right now, he is the front runner. I'm not going to say he's the lock by any means, because I'm glad I'm here with a voter. You heard Pete say he's a voter. Last year, me and Pete were sitting on this same desk on Christmas Day when Lamar Jackson essentially won the MVP. Let's not forget, Lamar Jackson has 2 standalone games. He just had a 5-touchdown performance where he only had 4 incompletions. Now he has the Pittsburgh Steelers on the national stage and the Houston Texans on the national stage. And Josh Allen has the Patriots and the Jets. That's who he has on his schedule. And Pete, you know this as a voter, that matters, that standalone game and having those MVP-like moments, because Josh Allen has had those the last 2 weeks at the 4 p.m. window. So I'm not saying this is over, but Josh Allen is clearly the front runner right now.
But if he wins out, he's going to have 2 more wins, and that matters.
But you always say head-to-head matters for you.
Yeah, well, they got him on a nighttime when they're in the middle of the season.
Don't make excuses. Lamar beat him head-to-head.
It doesn't, no. Because of a stupid play call by Joe Brady.
So you're going to blame Joe Brady for the loss.
Yeah, I will for that one. But no, I think when you look at it, if he wins out, puts up good numbers, he's the MVP. But you're right. It's time for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to quit being Charles Barkley and Sean Kemp and Karl Malone and John Stockton to Michael Jordan. It's time to beat Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is Patrick Mahomes. It's time for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to go beat Michael Jordan. So they can, and they did the regular season, but they have to do it in the postseason.
And just an MVP is not enough. It's got to be.
Well, it's a great award. It's an individual award, but as a team, you need to get over the hump. And by the way, the window closing, that was the biggest myth out there.
I thought the window had closed.
Some guys didn't pick him in the postseason.
I didn't.
And by the way, we have not seen the best of this offense yet. We have not. They had 1 game together, all of them. And by the way, did Cooper do anything last week?
They've had to phase him out of the offense, Pete.
Nothing. But the group together, they have so many weapons now. They're much better offensively than they were a year ago.
They are.
And Leger, you brought up about Lamar Jackson being on the national stage and having some big matchups ahead. He's also 109 rushing yards away from becoming the NFL's all-time QB rushing leader. So if he goes off and uses his legs and is the Lamar Jackson and breaks that record, which is held by Michael Vick, by the way, if he does that and goes off in these big games, make a case. Leger, I'll have you make a case for Lamar, and then Pete, maybe I'll have you make a case for Saquon, since you...
I'm not making a case for Lamar.
You don't want to?
What if he breaks Aaron Dickerson's record?
The offensive player of the year.
No, but you told me to make a case. We just saw the graphic right there. He leads Josh Allen in completion percentage. He leads him in touchdown passes. Now, I believe they're tied in overall touchdowns together. But Lamar's only thrown 3 interceptions. I mean, Pete, we talked about this in the beginning of the year. I don't think anybody that has progressed more at any position than Lamar Jackson has from within the pocket. Like, he's beating teams with his arms. And then you talked about the accolades with his legs. He could become the all-time leading rusher from the quarterback position this year. So this is why I think these next 2 games are pivotal, because it was just like this for Lamar last year. He went into San Fran, and me and Pete were on his desk. We thought San Fran was going to mud stomp the Baltimore Ravens. The opposite happened. Baltimore mud stopped the San Francisco 49ers. They had no answer for Lamar Jackson. So say he has that performance against a divisional foe in the Pittsburgh Steelers on the national stage this Saturday. Then he doubles down on Christmas Day versus the Houston Texans and has another performance like that. I think this race is a lot closer than a lot of people think it will be.
5 losses. That's 5 losses. Hard to discount 5 losses. Plus, he lost to Gardner Minshew at home. I mean, that should be good for 3 losses more on your resume.
But he beat Josh Allen head-to-head.
Here's the other thing. Last year, when Josh Allen actually played better down the stretch than Lamar Jackson did and had numbers comparable to him, he didn't have the wins that Lamar Jackson did, so Lamar Jackson was the MVP. I think this time it goes the other way around. No matter what.
Way more turnovers,
here's the other thing. Josh Allen needs 4 more touchdowns, period, to get to 40 for the 5th straight year. Nobody's done it 4 times. He's the only one. Now he does it for 5. He is truly having an amazing season. He's the MVP right now. He's got to finish out, but he's the MVP right now.
Yeah, and he's the odds-on favorite right now for a reason at -900. Pete Leger, we certainly appreciate it, talking about the MVP race in the NFL and getting a look at those odds. Josh Allen sitting at the top, Lamar Jackson at +650, and then we have Saquon Barkley still in the conversation at 18-1.